Alright guys, we're doing multi-step inequalities today, so let's go ahead and get on to those notes. Alright, so here we go. Remember at the top it's got our important whenever you divide or multiply by negative, you flip that inequality. So let's go ahead and tackle the first one. Well, as you can see, we've got a 3 and then some parentheses, so you know that means distribute. And that's what multi-step kind of includes. It includes the distributing, combining like terms, variables on both sides. It has it all. So let's go ahead and solve it. We distribute that 3. So we've got 3t. We have 3t plus 3, then minus 4t is greater than or equal to negative 5. Well, my next thing is to combine some like terms. So my 3 is a like term, and my negative 4t is a like term. So we're doing 3 minus 4. Which gets us a negative 1t. I can see that there's nothing to combine with this 3, so I just bring it down. So plus 3. I bring down my inequality sign, and I bring down my negative 5. Well, let's go ahead and solve this. So first step, I got to get rid of that 3. If it's a positive, I need to subtract 3 on both sides. So I've got negative 1t is greater than or equal to negative 5 minus 3 gets us a negative 8. Well, let's divide by negative 1 on both sides to get t by itself. So I have t, but keep in mind I just divided by a negative, so I need to flip my inequality. And negative 8 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 8. Well, let's go ahead and put that on our number line. So let's start with 8 here. I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so if this is my inequality, I've got that line under it, so that means I have a closed dot at 8. Next thing I got to do is my direction of my arrow. So I've got 0 is less than 8, which is true. So I want 0 to be included. I'm including numbers that are less than 8. So there's my answer here. Let's go ahead and go on to my second one. So as you can see, I've got variables on both sides. I have this n over here, and I've got this 3n on my other side of my inequality. Well, let's move that 3n over. Keep in mind, if it's a positive, you want to subtract it. So minus 3n on both sides. So 6 minus 3 gives us a 3n minus 1. I drop my inequality down, and I bring down that 8. Well, now we're back to a two-step inequality. So let's finish solving it. So if I've got this negative 1, let's add 1 on both sides, because we need to isolate that variable. So I've got 3n is greater than 9. Next thing I'm doing is I'm dividing by 3 because I still need to get n by itself. I've got to isolate that variable. So my 3's cancel out, and I've got n is greater than 3. Okay, so there is my inequality that I'm going to graph on this number line. So let's go ahead and fill out that number line out. We've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So if I have n is greater than 3, that means I'm going to have an open circle at 3, because it doesn't have that equal to line under it. Okay, well now let's figure out the direction it's going. We've got 0 is greater than 3. Well, that is not true. So you don't want 0 to be under your line. So you want it to go the other way. You want it to include numbers that are bigger than 3. So 4, 5, 6. And keep in mind, this goes all the way to infinity. So if we were to write this in interval notation, we know it'd start at 3, and it'd have a parenthesis, because it has an open circle, and it'd go all the way to your positive infinity. And when you work with infinities, that gives us a parenthesis. So here's our answer in interval notation. Here's our graph, and then there's our answer just written as an inequality. Okay, so we just did 2 of them. Let's do about 3 more. So let's go ahead and look at number 3. So when we do this one, we can see that it's got some parentheses. So that means we're going to do some distributing. So let's distribute this 2 through. So remember, we've got 2 times 5. That gives me a 10. And then I have 2 times negative 4a, which is a negative 8a. Okay, I've got my inequality to bring down, and I've got my 10 minus 8a to bring down. Well, as you can see, I've got variables on both sides. So that's what I need to combine. I've got a negative 8 over here, and I've got a negative 8a over there. So let's move one over. And keep in mind, since it's a negative 8, we have to add 8a. on both sides. So plus 8a on both sides. Alright, so here's what happens. We can see that these cancel out, and we can see that, well, negative 8 plus 8a, those cancel out too. So we have 10, and then we have 10 left over. Well, as we can see, there's no variables left over. This is canceled out. So this is going back to my number of solutions. Okay, so if I have 10 is greater than 10, we can see that that's totally false because there is no equal to. And because it's false, that means that there is no solution. Okay, and that's going to be our answer for this one, is just no solution, because this is false, because it doesn't have that equal to line under it. If it did, then it would be true, but it doesn't. Okay, so there's number 3. Now let's go and tackle number 4. Alright, again, we have some parentheses, so let's distribute that 3 through. So 3 times 6x gives me an 18x, and 3 times negative 2 gives me a minus 6. Okay, so I did my distributing. Now let's bring down everything else. I've got a 19x minus 5 on my other side. Well, I'll snap, we got variables on both sides again. So I have 18 over here, 19 over here, so let's go ahead and move the 18 over. So it's a positive, so that means I'm going to subtract 18x on both sides. So minus 18x for these to cancel out. So 19 minus 18 gives me an x. I go ahead and bring down my 5, bring down my inequality, and I bring down my negative 6. Well, this is our one-step inequality, so let's finish it out. If I've got this minus 5, let's add 5 on both sides. So I've got x is less than, and then negative 6 plus 5 gives me a negative 1. So let's go ahead and graph that on my number line. So I got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Beautiful. Alright, so we know we're going to have an open circle at negative 1 because there's no equal to. We plug in 0, it's saying 0 is less than negative 1, and not true. So we don't want 0 to be included. We want the numbers that are less than negative 1 to be included. So that's negative 2, negative 3, negative 100, negative 1,000, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there it is. Now let's go ahead and write it in interval notation just to have some fun. Okay, so we know we've got negative infinity over here, positive infinity over here. So we can see it starts at that negative infinity. And this line goes all the way to negative 1. It's an open circle, so those are both parentheses, and then infinities always deal with parentheses. Easy peasy. Number 5. So, crazy, we don't have any distributing to do in this one. I know, could have shocked me. Now let's go ahead and see what we do have to do. Oh snap, we got like terms. So let's combine them. So we've got 7m and then a negative 1m. So 7 minus 1 gives me a 6m. And I'll bring down my 7. I'll bring down my other side, which is 6m minus 5. Well, now we can see we've got a 6m over here and a 6m on the other side. So we got variables on both sides, people. So let's simplify it. Let's bring over that 6m, so minus 6m on both sides. These cancel out, and oh my god, these cancel out too. So we bring down negative 5, we bring down my inequality symbol, and we bring down my negative 7. Ooh, looky here. We've got negative 5 is greater than negative 7. Well, crazy. That's true. So we have all real solutions for this answer because this is true. And I'll give that a good smiley face because it's going to be a good day. Okay, so there's all of our problems for multi-step inequalities. We're done with this one. Go ahead and go back to lesson 6. Cross off your booklet. Do your practice. Get a 5 on the quiz. Have a fantastic day. Ask questions if you guys need help. And deuces!